Okay, and we are back for the latest episode of the Patriots Only Please podcast. Yes, there we are. There we are. For those of you not seeing the glare, but if not, we'll put this in post somewhere. The link will appear, the website address will appear. I'm Jeff Salentano.
Michael Sully.
Good to, thanks for joining us. We're also, this is the second time we've gone like live on the TikTok, so we're doing both. We're kind of killing a couple of birds. We got 3 cameras out here, and then we got Mike, you got your phone camera, which is great. So we're on TikTok. So thank you for anybody who's joining us live.
Yes.
And yeah, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of buzz going around in the political sphere. So you mentioned you kind of started some stuff. So feel free to fire the opening shot.
I think that, pardon me. Sorry, I keep bumping my lavalier.
Get adjusted.
Stephen A. Smith from ESPN fame, fantastic sports commentator, sportscaster. He's put his foot into politics. I don't know if he's been doing that. He has a podcast separate from ESPN where he talks about lifestyle issues and talks to famous people. But he's really been kind of going after the Democrats, and he's a Democrat. And he said some pretty powerful things this week about what's happening in the country that I think would be a great launching point for this episode, because they're all very important as we head toward the election, as we head toward the debate at the end of this month between President Biden and former President Trump, most of which Mr. Smith had to say was just the fact that Trump will not go away. And he also emphasized something that I think we don't say enough, just on a practical basis. Joe Biden is 81 years old. He's the oldest sitting president in the history of this country. There's never been a president this old running the country. He's now running for re-election. He'll be 80 when in November. By the time of the November 5th election, Joe Biden will have turned 82 years old. So we have to ask ourselves as a country: does that make sense to anyone? You can call it ageism if you want to, but he's showing signs of cognitive decline now,
to say the least.
So some of the chatter on the socials, online, on both sides, is that at the convention, the DNC might want to switch candidates
or before. Yeah, and then the dilemma is who is that person going to be? Right. Do you pass over the vice president, who's literally, that's what their job is, to sit there and kind of lay in wait until the president is incapacitated? Do you pass over the first female, executive at that level, especially a woman of color? And so that's kind of, they've painted themselves into a corner a little bit, because the thing that nobody's saying, but they're kind of saying the quiet part out loud, is that nobody likes Kamala.
She's very
unpopular.
No, and people on both sides, professional pollsters that do this for a living, that study this stuff statistically 24/7, have all concluded that Kamala is one of the least popular vice presidents in our country's history.
She's a huge liability too, for the party, for many reasons, but mostly at this point now because she's not necessarily a viable option to step in. So there's some rumblings. Some people are thinking, will it be Michelle Obama? For a while, people were saying that. There's some pretty strong indications, though, that really doesn't have an interest in doing that, nor does she have the track record other than just being a first lady. She's never really held any kind of managed policy.
Well, and let's also not forget the intense amount of work this is. Whoever would try to take over that position, were it to happen, we're talking about 24/7 commitment for the next 4 years. Mm-hmm. And a lot of these people are very wealthy and very comfortable. And why would you want to do that? I mean, not to mention the scrutiny, because once Denzel Washington, who, if you're on social media, is quoted a lot for his wise words. He seems to be on and off the screen a pretty smart guy. Mm-hmm. And one of his favorite lines is, when you pray for rain, you got to deal with the mud. Mm. So, I want to be president, but guess the mud is nothing you do or say.
Yeah.
And everything you've done or said for your entire life will now become front page news. Mm-hmm. And everything you do and say for the rest of your life, especially while you're running and campaigning, it never ends. There's no escaping the scrutiny.
All of your dirty laundry, everything.
Do you want that? I mean, we only get one life on this planet. You get so many years to live. I mean, I don't know. I don't want to be a politician at that level.
No. I mean, just much like a lot of celebrities have had to deal with as well. But this is a much, I think, deeper level of scrutiny.
Of course.
So you've got a couple of options. You got Michelle Obama, whose name's been kind of bandied about. But the one name that people seem to kind of keep coming back to is Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, which is already kind of an unpopular, especially among our side of the fence, is kind of an unpopular state, unpopular governor.
Yep.
I don't think anybody, no matter where you are, wants to see the country turn into California. I'm born and raised in California, since I was, until I came here 20 some years ago, Nevada. But California was bad then, and it's worse now. So, but you haven't really seen. They've trotted Newsom out occasionally when they've needed, a more eloquent mouthpiece.
Sure. Yeah. The debate he had with the governor of Florida,
DeSantis,
that didn't really. So that kind of fell flat.
Yeah, and we were wondering what the whole point was. I think, though, just to maybe try to make him appear a little more presidential, so that way it wouldn't come as much of a surprise if and when they decided to move him out. Although, I'm curious, A, to know what you think about the whole situation of Biden being replaced altogether, and B, who do you think that could be? Who are some of your picks?
I unfortunately or fortunately, I think they're going to run Biden. I don't think there's any way to change it out at this point and beat Trump. Trump's getting more popular by the second. They know this. I personally believe the only reason that Biden agreed to do the debates was because of Trump's surging popularity with every demographic everywhere. I think Biden's only beating him on the issue of abortion, if I'm not mistaken. So that's not good for a sitting president this far into the term, this close to an election. So my answer is I'm on the side of I think they're going to run Biden because I think it's the only option they've got, which again, this is how we try to start the episode out. He'll be 82 years old if he were to win the election in November. He would be 83 in his first year of his second term. There are just limits to what people are capable of doing cognitively. Anyone to run a country this complex, to understand the issues even. I think it's asking too much of him.
Oh, to say nothing of dealing with our adversaries overseas. I mean, China, all of these, China, North Korea, Russia. I mean, I think the reason why we're seeing so many, bad things and rumblings and movement geopolitically is because they figure this is the time to strike because we have America's weakened right now. Well, taking advantage of that.
It's funny how things pop in and out of the media to me. Like what's happened to the students that were on the college campuses that were pro-Palestinian, causing all the trouble? They're at Goldman Sachs interning for the summer. That's what they're out of the picture, but they'll pop back in the fall if the war's still going on or if it's not. But like Iran, what's going on with Iran? I mean, they bombed Israel. That's historic with a capital H, the size of the Eiffel Tower or whatever.
Sure.
That's an enormous thing. And Israel bombed them back. Huge. Yeah. And now, crickets. It's incredible how they can change, or they can move, they being the mainstream media. I'm sorry, I don't want me to sound not
conspiratorial.
Conspiratorial. But I mean, they just move our attention around like it's a steering wheel. I mean, that's a pretty... Sure. In that part of the world, for Iran to have the guts and moxie to bomb Israel, really, it's a huge thing.
Well, yeah, it's called propaganda.
But I mean, it's also called an act of war.
Oh, sure, absolutely.
They have said every day Israel should not exist. I mean, they fund groups that their only goal is to. But now we're kind of in limbo on that because it's not. So that might hurt Biden. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's incredible to me that the entire news, the way that we receive news globally is even kind of being filtered right now to make sure Biden doesn't look weak. Because look what happened in Europe.
Sure.
In the most recent elections in the EU. The far right grabbed a lot of seats.
Yeah.
The people are waking up.
And that did get some ink, obviously, in the mainstream news. But of course, Mexico just elected their first female Jewish president who's very liberal,
Socialist.
socialist, basically. So
former president was socialist.
So I was thinking of moving to Mexico, but wait a few years for that.
Yeah, maybe.
But no, I think I would love to see them follow through with Biden, just because it almost guarantees a Trump victory. However, I wouldn't be surprised, because they're kind of priming the media. Speaking of, talking about propaganda, and kind of they are kind of priming the pump and getting people prepared. Because look, if it wasn't on the table, then it wouldn't be talked about really at all. They wouldn't really, because if they're trying to control it that much, if they're trying to control the narrative that much, they certainly wouldn't let that slip on CNN, MSNBC, all of the mainstream liberal leaning networks. So I think that it could either be Gavin Newsom, which is what a lot of smart money is on. But I heard an interesting theory today. One of my favorites. I'm a big Dan Bongino fan. Dan, if you're watching, we're big fans. I don't think
love
you're
your
watching,
work.
but anyway, we love your work. Big fan. But he posited a theory today that it could very well be another run for Hillary Clinton.
Man, I don't see that happening.
And he sold it pretty well.
Really?
Yeah, and because if you think about it, you can't pass up Kamala, right? Mm-hmm. The only way you'd be able to pass up Kamala, because you can't pass her up with another rich white man.
Right.
You know what I mean? So Gavin Newsom, the optics are just not right for that. But Hillary Clinton is still she's still political royalty enough to, at least on that side, to where the only person that Kamala would probably, and don't shoot, I'm just repeating what Bongino said. The only person that she'd maybe be willing to take a knee for in that case would be Hillary Clinton, because they feel like they were robbed. They feel like, it's her turn still. And for the optics, people would love a rematch.
Yeah, but Trump would it wouldn't even be a matchup.
I would hope so,
because he's got a presidency to refer back to. She's got her time as Secretary of State, disaster.
Yeah.
Her time as a senator, disaster. What else has she got?
Either way, it looks great for Trump.
That's what I mean. So I mean, what are you folks thinking? We'd love for you to communicate with us. We've got our email address on the and you can contact us through the website and stuff. But we'd love to get some feedback, because I don't know. Trump's raised $400 million since his convictions in New York. Yeah, it's a lot of money on top of what he's already raised. I don't know where Biden is on the.
He raised probably about another 30 or 40 million from what I heard at that fundraiser in Hollywood, which was like $1 million a plate anyway. So whatever.
So he's making money as well. So I mean, like, my point is, this is money. People are investing in Biden's campaign. So I think they're going to run
usual suspects.
I think they're going to run Biden. I don't think there's enough time, and people don't follow politics closely enough to understand if there was that big of a change. It would look, talk about optics. It'd be like Democratic Party's falling apart right before Trump again. I don't know. I think they got to go with Biden.
I hope you're right. I think that's the safest bet for us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I hope you're right. But it's interesting that there's rumblings going on. It is getting a little. I mean, come on. It's June.
And the new the Biden campaign just released some $50 million ad campaign nationally about talking about Trump being a felon. They're going to definitely hammer the convicted felon thing, which gives Trump more street cred.
Yeah,
that helps him too. I mean, again, I'm going back to Mr. Stephen A. That everything they're doing is making the flames. I'm feeling, when I'm on the socials and I'm poking around, I'm feeling a groundswell for Trump.
Absolutely, especially in demographics that traditionally would not go for anyone on the right. But it's not about, and I've been saying this a lot lately, it's not about left, right, conservative, liberal, you know what I mean, Democrat, Republican.
Thanks for the hearts, guys. I'm sorry. Thanks for the hearts. Thanks for the follows. Sorry.
I don't know what any of that means. I don't spend enough time
They tap the screen and hearts appear in my end.
Oh, okay. So
and they send a flower. It's very
cool. So it's like respect. So,
yeah,
I mean, it works very similar to all the other. Okay, great. Yeah. Beautiful. I got to spend more time on the TikTok. But
he's showing his age.
But yeah. I think where was I? Oh yeah. It's not a left versus right, Republican, Democrat. It really truly is an us versus them. It is the people versus the elite at this point. And ironically, It's a rich white billionaire that's the bull in the china shop that's tearing the whole system down.
Yeah, because most people, when they in order to separate themselves from the rest of us and still govern us, they have to become a part of the political class. Trump's that rare human being in this country, at least up until this point in history, who's been a celebrity for 2 generations.
Mm-hmm.
He's been, TV, sports,
yep,
entertainment, WWE. His name is branded everywhere. There's been entertainment, the reality TV show forever. And now we found out, and he made a great president. He was a fantastic president. So if there's anyone doing a comeback, it should be Trump, because we know what he'll do. We know he'll make America great again, which is what we all want.
Yeah.
You know?
So regardless of who the Democrats trot out in November, whether it's Joe Biden, whether it's Gavin Newsom, Hillary Clinton, God forbid, or Michael Obama.
That was an inside joke.
Well, some people in the circles, they get it.
Yeah.
But regardless of who it is, don't let it deter anyone's focus. First of all, get out and vote.
Yes.
Because all of this is great, but it's meaningless without actually boots on the ground and legitimate votes being counted.
Yes.
Please
vote.
In our
Register
favor.
to vote and vote in your states, guys. Please.
Yes. Down the ballot, because we're going to need all the help we can get, regardless of whether Trump gets in. That's a whole other thing. But yeah, definitely, just definitely take part in. Don't be fooled by any of these. If they say, oh, maybe Bobby Kennedy, he looks okay. Oh, well, it's Hillary's turn again. It's the rematch of the century. Nobody gives a shit about that, honestly.
Can I ask you a question? Do you think if Robert Kennedy so in order for Robert Kennedy to be in the debates and to be on the ticket, he's got to be able to get on the whatever it's called in every 50 state, all 50 states. He's got to get enough votes, signatures.
Basically, he has to qualify. Yeah,
he got to qualify in all 50 states. If he were to do that, and if he were to be in the debates and the election, I think, again, my opinion is he would take votes away from Biden,
unless he was kind of like the long shot, the Trojan horse, kind of waiting in the wings that they bring in to replace Biden. Well, that's another theory.
We saw what happened to Bernie Sanders twice. He just handed the gavel to Hillary. Here's all my voters and all their money because I can't win. So we all don't. No one thinks RFK can win, but if he can take votes away from Biden, I'm all for it.
Sure. He's better for us as a third party candidate than he is as the opposition candidate.
Well, like the woman from Hawaii,
Tulsi Gabbard.
Like Tulsi, he's left the Democratic Party.
Yes,
he was a lifelong Democrat. from birth. He's really.
But he still leans really left.
Oh, absolutely. But he's running as a third party, isn't he?
Yes.
He's not caucusing with the Democrats.
No.
So there's that.
Yeah.
It's really an interesting time in this country's history. We have the oldest sitting president of all time, who is clearly cognitively challenged, let's say, to be very respectful, going into an election that's are you anticipating any kind of 13th hour crazy thing?
Yeah, it's them pulling Biden. Look, I think a lot of it's going to hinge on this first debate, because the left has dictated the terms. And Trump was like, fine, whatever, I'll take whatever. So they probably weren't expecting that. So now that they're committed, they're either going to have to pull Biden out before the debate, which would basically just hand the election to Trump, and they'd have to cite something like, oh, Joe's sick. What are they going to say?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or if they let him go out and he performs and they maybe drug him up, good enough like he was on the State of the Union, so he can be cognitive for a little while. It's one thing to be doped up enough to read a speech on a teleprompter. How do you handle a debate like that?
A and B. If you watch that performance, if you're able to, it's not easy. It's not easy to watch. But I watched some of the State of the Union, and it was just an old man, an angry, very, very angry old man, ranting and railing and screaming
with a script.
Yeah,
with the benefit of a script.
It was a campaign speech. It wasn't a State of the Union, and it was just anger.
Sure.
Anger. And so I don't know. it's going to be a very, very tricky thing. I think if Trump performs the way the world's expecting him to perform in both debates, I think that's going to lock it in for him. But that doesn't mean you don't have to vote. Please, 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 please vote.
Yeah,
please vote.
That's the biggest message, because look, what did Trump have? Maybe not as much in 2020. I don't know. We can go back and roll the tape on that. But Trump still had, great crowds. He had a lot of support. He seemed to have the momentum was definitely seemed to be with Trump in 2020, and we all know what happened. Now, that's why I do love, I'm not a big fan of all of Trump's little slogans, but I do love too big to rig. We got to make it too big to rig.
Hashtag too big to rig.
It's
Hashtag too big to rig.
Yes.
We need to come out in big numbers, guys, as Republicans, as conservatives. And I'm hashtagging all my pro-Trump stuff, gays for Trump, women for Trump, Latinos for Trump, Brexit. I mean,
they exist. Say what you will about, Democrats, those factions, but they exist.
There are Democrats out there who are voting for Trump. I mean, just pay attention to the socials.
We'll take them.
There's lots of folks saying, I've been voting Democrat my whole life. I'm from city, you name it, sanctuary city, and I'm just tired of failure.
Yeah,
I'm just tired of my city, looking the way it is and getting worse.
Yep. I mean, exactly. The Bronx and Brooklyn and Detroit. I mean, you saw that the Trump visited, Black church and met with the leaders in that community and went over like gangbusters. I mean, just great.
I'm just curious, I'm asking the people, if there's anyone on the left, that's watching this right now, how would you what is your answer to that, to Stephen A's question? I keep kind of going back. That's kind of the motif, the repeating motif of this podcast, this episode, is the Stephen A's comments about Trump is still whooping you. All this stuff's happening. All this weight has been placed on him, and he's rising. How can you explain that other than he's got better answers? We know from his presidency that what he'll do, he says what he means and he means what he says. He gets things done. Joe Biden said he would build back better. He's done none of those things, not in this country. We'll end up building Ukraine back better, but
not really. Ukraine is still under a pile of rubble right now.
That's what I mean. But so we know. So again, how do you? What's the move here? What's the pivot?
They have no. I can't imagine if they were to pull it off for a second time, especially with Biden being this unpopular, proven to be this terrible.
We got numbers now.
It would be
empirical evidence of failure.
I would find it. Look, obviously, people would say, "Hey, won legitimately fair and square." Most people in the country, I think, would go, "What? Yeah. Really? Yeah. Really?" Yeah. So yeah, we want it to be too big to rig, but at the same time, I don't see how they could pull it off a second time in a row at this point. Just being cognitively impaired, unpopular.
Well, and let's face it. Last time around we had 2020, and then we had COVID.
Yeah, and no COVID.
All right, no COVID this time. No 2020-like behavior, and the first time around it was a referendum on Trump as the president. This time it will be a referendum on Biden as the president, and Biden's presidency has not been good. Look at the numbers.
Yep.
Look it up. Google it. When you go, take your wallet out and go pay for stuff and compare it to 4 years ago. Just there you go. Most people vote with their pocketbooks and the way that things affect them personally. And everyone that I know, with mortgage rates over 7%, the American dream is it's impossible to buy a house. So rents tripled. We were in Las Vegas. I mean, it's become super, super expensive to live in this country under this administration. That alone gets most presidents not reelected.
Yeah, and especially when you have this kind of almost an underdog at this point. I mean, Trump, with everything that they've thrown at him, who's rising in the polls and who's rising in demographics that traditionally Republicans don't do well in. And that's another reason why I think the powers that be, the power structure within the Democrat Party, we're talking the Obamas, the Clintons, are going, Joe, there's still time to bow out gracefully. We can come up with something. We can spin a story, and we can run Gavin over here.
It's true. There's been some talk of, pardon me. They said one of the reasons why Mr. Biden tapped Kamala Harris for the job they say it was actually Jill Biden's idea because they knew she'd be unpopular and they wouldn't try to put her in his place.
Oh, she was she was an insurance policy.
Yeah,
she was the DEI hire for optics, and then she was an insurance policy because they knew from the beginning that no one's ever going to accept her as the president.
She wasn't a popular attorney general in California.
She wasn't a popular candidate when she was running.
No, she didn't make it to Iowa. When she was running against Joe Biden in the Democratic caucus in 2020, she didn't make it to the first state. But and
now she's the vice.
Yeah,
and
she also called Biden some terrible things on the campaign trail too. It just goes to show you that politics is a lot about telling people what they want to hear. And what we want to hear is Trump winning in November. We're gonna go till 7. We got 3 minutes to go. We got a 3-minute wrap up.
2 minutes.
Aha!
We're at
This
58. No.
But thank you for listening. It's patriotsonlyplease.com. That is the website. We're on all the socials, all the platforms, Spotify. We want to thank Tiago Guzzi, who's doing our sound for us tonight. He's our tech advisor. It's Thiago, Thiago Guzzi, G like gigolo, U, S like Sam, I.
Yep.
Thiago Guzzi.com.
And let me tell you something, ladies. He should be the one in front of the camera.
He's easy on the eyes.
Saying, ladies, he's
easy on the eyes.
Okay? He's a Latin catch, so go after him. And just to kind of plug with a great new song, because we're all musicians here.
Singers.
That's our day job. Yes, we're all musicians and entertainers. But he's got a great new song called
Ay Amor.
Ay Amor.
We'll tag the song in this episode.
Very good.
He did.
Yeah. Ay Amor. So that's going to be that's going to drop and when? When does that drop?
It's a long story, but here's the thing: if you follow follow Thiago on his socials, you'll see the progress of the song and how it's going to happen.
Okay, I'll put your social handle in post. That's industry speak for after
we finish shooting this. But guys, thank you TikTok. I'm glad to be back. I'm going to be very careful about everything we've said today is for educational and entertainment purposes only. We hope that you enjoyed the episode. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe if you wouldn't mind. Patriotsonlyplease.com. And we really, all kidding aside, whatever, we're doing this because we want Trump to win in November to help everyone. Thank you for the rose.
There you go.
We are conservative Republicans, but we're also Americans. We're all Americans. We all want a better future for our kids. We all want a better country for the future of our country. And we really believe that Trump's the person to help us attain that sooner than later. We think if the Democrats were to win in November, it would not be great for the middle class and everyone. It'd be not good. So please, let's remember in November. Let's unite the right. Let's register to vote in our respective states. Let's get out there and make this happen. Chat, talk, get to know each other, support each other, and MAGA, MAGA, MAGA.
Get your ass out and vote. Hey, now did I do anything that could potentially get you kicked? Was I okay?
I'll find out.
You'll find out.
I'll get a note saying the guy on the right. To you, never.
Don't use him again.
Yeah.
So
get rid of him.
I mean, we're pretty tense.
No,
so what happens now? Like, can we go back later? Can I go back and watch this?
It's live. It's in the ether.
So once it's done, there's no record of it anywhere.
It sits on the TikTok server forever, I think.
But there's no way for me to go back and watch this?
We can probably record it in the future, but I'm not smart enough to know how to do that. Do you guys want to do that? Anyone tell me how to record a live? I can probably.
Yeah, because I can't read what people are saying.
No, we can't read. It's very fast, but so listen, we're coming at you weekly. We try to drop a new episode every Monday. Patriotsonlyplease.com. I, of course, will go on live myself and do my solely speak that I do, politics and music and stuff. It's kind of a Gen X meets politics kind of thing that I do. And I appreciate the subscribers and the followers. I'm trying to grow the channel over time. I'm collaborating with some merchants, and that's been pretty cool. I like TikTok a lot. I like all the socials a lot, but TikTok's really encourages creators to monetize their content, which I appreciate. Helps pay for stuff. And Thiago's not free. He's a very expensive Brazilian. Anyway,
a little cheaper because he's Brazilian. But
that's not true. That's not true. That's not true.
See, I don't know anything about all this cool stuff going on TikTok. So I would love to read the comments. Do you guys think we should start our own proper Patriots Only Please podcast chat? Because I would like to do that, and then I could both get in and get a little, you know what I mean? A little more savvy on the TikTok.
We need a dedicated patriotsonlyplease.com.
Yeah, so anybody watching, hopefully you'll move over, or at least add that if and when we do launch.
We will do that. We'll send them over. They're
invited to join us as a guest. So are these people that are just wanting to join as a guest?
Yeah.
They're sending roses.
Yeah.
And somebody's saying yes.
Thank you so much, guys.
And River joined.
There's 1,000 people watching us right now.
Get out of here.
Or 10,000.
No, 1,000.
1,000, not 10,000.
Okay.
One day it'll be 10,000.
No, but I mean, come on. Okay.
We appreciate your kind attention. We really do. And we're doing this because we love America. And Mr. Soley, something happening?
I don't know.
Oh. Well, anyway, thank you so much. Drop a follow. Thanks. We're coming at you every week. We'll stream live, and we're trying to wrap it up. And
someone says, "Love you guys."
Love you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And patriotsonlyplease.com for this podcast. And I'm on. This is my channel on TikTok. I'm all over the place.
Yep.
And thank you so much for your kind attention. We'll come back at you soon. Just stay strong. Pay attention. What are pay attention? Like stay true to being a conservative Republican.
Yeah. Don't stay woke.
Don't stay woke.
Be awoken. Awaken. Yeah.
Awokened.
Whatever.
MAGA.